Let's hop into the lesson. Basically, what we're going to be getting into today are what I call pentatonic hot zones. Okay, so now if you don't know this already, pentatonic scales are really the fundamentals for all the greatest riffs and licks and solos, all that great rock guitar stuff, are all based from either minor pentatonic or major pentatonic scales, and sometimes it's a combination between the two scales. It's like an amalgamation of minor pentatonic and major pentatonic, just smushed together. So of course, with pentatonic scales, we're talking about these 5-note scales, and and that's kind of the beauty of them. And so there's also 5 positions that we can play these scales in. And so what I want to do in today's lesson is, of course, we're going to go over the scales to make sure that you get those. And just to, even if you do have them memorized already, this is an opportunity to just cycle them, just get some exercise, get them under your fingers and get them happening. And just, yeah, like I said, exercise, right? Like our fingers are muscles, or inside of our fingers, there are muscles and tendons that need to be stretched, exercised, strengthened. Okay, and playing scales is a great way to exercise and strengthen your fingers. So, but again, simultaneously, what we're going to be doing is learning the scales that are the fundamentals and of all the great rock and blues and even metal and funk and reggae and all that stuff. So, these scales are really, really essential. So, what we're going to do, and yeah, is make sure that you get the PDF pulled up, because we're going to be going through the scales. And so yeah, so even if you do already know these scales, I might be taking the scales a little bit too slow for you, considering that you may have them completely memorized. So just why don't you drop in a comment? Let me know, do you have all 5 pentatonic things memorized? Certainly, I'm sure that Mike has shown you guys this one. So do you have that one, or do you have all 5 of them? Let me know where you guys are at with your pentatonic scales. I'm curious to know. And let me just get rid of this. Cool, cool. So yeah, so if we're going through those scales, just use this opportunity to just, okay, if you know that one already, then just while we're talking about that first scale, for instance, this is your opportunity to just spend a few minutes and just cycle it as fast and as hard as you can, okay? So you can really just sit there, and maybe I'm yakking on about something, but you can just sit there and go, you know what I mean? Like, just cycle it. And so yeah, so that's kind of how you want to tackle these live lessons, is wherever you're at. Okay, just use this as an opportunity to just expand on these topics, because they are extremely important. So I love teaching this one, this lesson, and I'm just catching up on the comments. So nice, Julian. So Julian's got all 5 positions committed to memory. So when we go over these positions, Julian, this is just your opportunity to just get a little bit more practice on each one of those scales, because it ain't gonna hurt you, right? So but yeah, so most importantly, so that's kind of like what we'll warm up on today, is just to make sure that you got all these 5 positions. But as you know, the title of today's lesson is Pentatonic Hot Zones. Okay. Now, what do I mean by hot zones? Well, there's really specific areas where the most famous licks and the most famous solos and the most badass riffs happen. So, so for example, like one of my favorite positions is the 3rd position minor pentatonic scale. And in the key of E, that would happen right here. Okay? However, when you go to solo, people will often say, hey, grab that position and and play that scale, and you should be able to play awesome riffs. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. So if something's going on like this in the background, and you start going, it just sounds like a scale. It doesn't sound like music. And however, if you take this one little position right here, just the first 3 strings, okay? If you just grab that little hot zone, okay, and we'll talk about this more in depth. I'm just kind of trying to give you an overview of what we're going on into today. But if you grab just that one little hot zone, then that's where a lot of the magic will happen, okay? And a great example right off the top of my head would be something like Born Under a Bad Sign by Albert King. So as you can see, I'm just using that little hot zone right there to play an iconic, famous riff that was made by Albert King, later covered by Cream and Eric Clapton, and one of the most famous songs ever, just using that one little section of one little pentatonic scale, okay? So when you grab these notes, okay, and like I said, the problem is that a lot of times when we play scales, they sound like scales. They don't sound like music, okay? So how do we play riffs, solos, licks, and sound like a pro, and turn heads and impress people that listen to you play, and also, of course, excite yourself when you play it, like you just feel so much more passionate? Well, you take these notes and you got to combine these 4 techniques, okay? And you might want to tattoo this to your forehead. Hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends, and slides, okay? So hopefully you grab a Sharpie marker, start writing this on your forehead. Hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends, and slides, okay? Hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends, also, and a bend could also be a vibrato. Okay, so those are your bends, which are, bends, of course, but also vibrato fits under that category, bend. Okay, and then slides. Okay, sliding around into notes. So those 4 techniques combined with these pentatonic scales, especially the pentatonic hot zones, is really honestly the key to playing awesome riffs, licks, and solos. Okay? So are you with me? Are you fired up? Are you stoked up? Let's hop into this one. Okay. So I see there's more people on the call, which is good. Make sure to drop in comments and chat amongst yourselves. And also, yeah, if you have questions, if you want me to go over something, then please do stop me and say, hey, can you go over that thing again? Or what note does that start on, or whatever, okay? So guys, let's hop into this initial warm-up here. So it's the first scale that you'll see on the PDF. And again, let's just drop in that document just so you guys see. So that there's the document link. And so we're going to start this scale on the 3rd fret. Okay. And this one is going to be, so we're going to do a lot of these positions in the key of A minor. And so that's where you'll see a lot of the scales and what they're referenced in and stuff like that. So, and let me know if you guys caught that lesson that I released a few weeks ago, the Jimi Hendrix lesson. I actually went over this scale and how both Purple Haze and Voodoo Child are derived from this scale. And so this is a really cool little sequence. And just let me know if you guys need help reading this. If this is just like beyond you when you look at this chart, do let me know. And now is the time, right? Now is the time to let me know if this is totally confusing to you or not. I'll assume that you know how to read scale charts. Of course, inside a 5-minute guitar, for instance, I go through a whole video on how to read scale charts and chord charts and all that stuff. Essential guitar stuff, definitely really helpful. Okay, so what this looks like is we've got 2 notes on the first string, and then we've got 3 notes on the next string. Okay? So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So there's third, fifth, 7th. Okay? And then we just kind of continue that exact same kind of feel. So we're going to go 5, 7. So there's your 2 notes. And then we go 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And that would be 8, 10, 8, 10, 12. Okay? So let's just start from the beginning here, and this is just going to be our warm-up that we can just cycle. So we've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay? And if you're already ready to do it, you can go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay? So go ahead, if you got that dialed in, hopefully you're already going just as fast and as smooth as you can without playing wrong notes. Just, oh, sorry. Speaking of playing wrong notes, sometimes teaching and talking and playing guitar at the same time, anyways, a little too much to handle. Anyways, so just go ahead and cycle that at however fast you can. We'll just get the fingers warmed up here. You know, you can also do something like that. 1, 2, 1, 2, slide. Okay, so hopefully that's feeling good and getting fingers moving around this little sequence. And what's beautiful about this, just in case you're curious to know what the heck we're playing, it's just an A minor pentatonic scale. However, we're moving up and across the strings diagonally, okay? And what that means is that we're playing, how many positions are we playing? We're playing three positions, okay? We're going diagonally up and across 3 minor pentatonic scales, okay? Okay, so there's the first warm-up that I wanted to throw at you. And I guess that was it. Oh yeah, because we're going to go over the other pattern later on in the lesson. So let's just continue on here. Hey, Robert, good to see ya. Yeah, man. I didn't even talk about Christmas. You know, here we are. It's post-Christmas, pre-New Year, and I haven't even mentioned anything like that. But anyways, Merry Christmas to all you guys. Happy holidays for those that don't celebrate Christmas. But yeah, hopefully you guys have had a great one. I've definitely been enjoying my time, and played a gig a couple nights ago. That was super fun, and did a couple days of skiing with my family, and yeah, just been getting back to Campfire Guitar Star in the last few days, trying to catch up on everything and all the stuff. So, okay, so let's talk about the root position. A minor pentatonic will continue just warming up on these shapes. So you'll see that that in the document. It's on page 2, or no, sorry, yeah, we're on page 2. It's the top left diagram, and what that position looks like is probably, like, chances are, if you've learned any scales, you probably know this one. Okay, so if you know this one, use this as just a time to go ahead and practice this, however fast or however comfortably and confidently you can do it without messing up or playing wrong notes. If you're playing wrong notes or you're messing up, just back it down a little bit. Okay, we want to make sure that we're practicing things correctly, right? So, however fast you can play this. And just on that note, just keep on playing. Go ahead. I can hear you. And so on that note, you know, you can also play these super slow. And of course, with a metronome is always like, it will give you so many more bonus points. You know, I just don't have mine handy right now, but so as you can see, I'm just actually going through the scale slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and practicing my vibrato on each note, right? Okay. Trying to get that pulsating bend that's rhythmic. That's also with the metronome. Okay, and or with the tempo that you're going at. Okay. So a lot of people, you know, especially guitar players, when we're playing scales, is we start really focusing on playing these scales super, super fast. And then our guitar playing actually a lot of times sounds like we're trying to play too fast. But some of the best, most iconic, most passionate solos and notes are a lot of times like those held, sustaining, you know, notes with sweet vibrato. Okay, so when you're practicing these scales, you know, we've talked about playing them fast, but you can also get a ton of benefit from playing these slow. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next. We're gonna keep on moving through our warm up here. So the next scale sequence is, as you can see, it's the second position A minor pentatonic scale. You'll find that diagram right on the PDF there. And we're going to start this one on the 8th fret. And you'll see that we start this one with our second finger. Okay? You really want to watch the fingerings on this one because we got 2, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 3, and then 2, 4, 2, 4. Okay? So, and we'll talk about this in a second, how this isn't necessarily the fingerings that you would use if you're ripping a solo, but if you're practicing your scales, then this is definitely the fingerings that you would actually want to use. Okay, so play it fast, play it slow. Just use this as an opportunity to practice your second position minor pentatonic scale. And by the way, this is going to be your first position major pentatonic scale in the key of C major. Okay, so I don't want to confuse you too much, but just so you know, just make a mental note of that if that's beyond you. That's like the relative major, relative minor concept. So. And that's kind of cool about these minor pentatonic scales is you're simultaneously learning your major pentatonics, okay? So that's kind of a beautiful thing. But yeah, so that's what it is. It's also a C major pentatonic scale. Oops. But it's also your second position minor pentatonic scale. And that's mostly what we're going to be focusing on today. Okay, so hopefully you got some good warm-up time on that scale. I know that my fingers are cold right now. It's, hey, it's the middle of winter here in Canada. So even though I have heating, you know, just trying to save the environment a little bit, living in a cold house. Anyways, so let's move on to our third position, minor pentatonic scale. You see that right here on the third position, A minor pentatonic. We're going to start on the 10th fret, and there's your scale. So we got 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3. Okay, so again, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 3. This is definitely the hardest minor pentatonic scale. Anyways, if you know this, again, use this as an opportunity to just cycle this. Okay, we're playing all these in the key of A minor. that's also something cool that, you know, you always want to be practicing your scales in the most musical way possible, okay? Are we playing scales or are we playing music, okay? You know, we want to play music, right? So you can always just grab these scales and just kind of riff on them, come up with like fun little melodies, mix up the rhythms. Okay, that's also a great way to practice your scales, and it kind of makes it more fun and more musical. Okay, so you can skip strings too. Okay, it's also really important to know where your root notes are. You know, eventually you'll want to know that this note, the 12th fret of the A string, is an A note, and that we're in the key of A. That's why that sounds good whenever you land on an A note. Like here's the other A note in that particular position, your other root note. So if you play some licks, and land on that 10th fret of the B string, it just kind of sounds like the lick is finalized, okay? Because that's our root note, okay? So let's move on. We've got the 4th position minor pentatonic scale. If you know this one already, go ahead, start cycling it as fast or as slow as you want. Just get some practice on it. So here this one is. You'll see it in the PDF, 4th position, A minor pentatonic scale. We start this one on our 12th fret. Okay, so we got 12, 15, 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14. We've got 13, 15, back to 12, 15. Really, really similar to your root position. Just a couple of little tweaks. This is definitely probably my second favorite minor pentatonic scale, because this is where you find all those sweet licks. Okay, and trust me, I'm not playing anything outside of this A minor pentatonic scale, 4th position, starting from the 12th fret, you know? So go ahead, just warm up on this scale, get those fingers moving, however fast or slow you'd like. Use this as your opportunity to just get a little practice on that particular position. Maybe you're learning it for the first time and you just want to use this time to practice with me. Okay, root notes there. Again, 12th fret of the A string, and also 14th fret of the G string. Those are where the A notes are lying. Oh, and then also 15th fret. Oh, sorry, never mind. No, that's not right. So anyways, those are the two root notes. 12th fret of the A, 14th fret of the G. That's where your A notes are lying. Okay, those are just a couple of extra bonus points in case that helps you. It will certainly help you, but it just depends if you're ready for that kind of information or not. Okay, so let's move on. We've got just one more position to go, right? Because we've got 5 positions, and this one is going to start on the 15th fret, or it could start on the 3rd fret, okay? And we'll talk about that in just a second. So let's go ahead and move along. So we got 15th fret here, and we got 2, 4, 2, 4, and then we got 14th fret of the D string with 1, 4, 1, 4, back to 2, 4, 2, 4. Okay, so just use this opportunity to get a little practice on that scale. So just in case you're on an acoustic guitar and that's way too high, as mentioned, you could also play this 1 octave lower. We're going to go a full 12 frets down to the 3rd fret. So check it out. Here, that's that same riff. I'm just playing in an octave lower. It's the exact same notes, okay? Exact same scale, exact same notes, just 1 octave lower. So 3, 5, 3, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, fret-wise. Okay, so are you guys feeling warm? You guys got some practice on those scales? Hopefully so. You know, it never hurts to just log in a little bit of time on the most important scales that are known to us rock and blues guitar players. I know I've definitely logged in my fair share on these scales. And if we roll it back to the very first warm-up that I threw at you, we were talking about this particular sequence, 3, 5, 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 5, 7, 9, 8, 10, 8, 10, 12. Okay? And what's really cool is that when you start seeing not only the scales crossways, like we just practiced them, and what I mean is just like if we take that last one crossways, I'm meaning we're playing 2 notes per string, and we're going just across the guitar, okay? So that's great. You want to learn your scales like that. But as mentioned, and I've provided this, this cool little diagonal sequence. So we've got 3, 5, 3, 5, 7, and etc. And the best way to think about that one is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay? And what's awesome is that there we are playing it diagonally, but just know that you're actually just, all you're doing is diagonally going through those minor pentatonic shapes that we just practiced crossways. Okay, so we've got this scale, this shape, and this shape. And what's so cool is that we're actually crossing over, I think earlier I said it was 3 of the scales, where we're actually diagonally moving through 4 out of the 5 shapes there. Okay, and this is really where a lot of the inspiring little lead lines come from, because it even sounds musical when you start going this. You can just start finding these really natural, like inspiring little passages that you can play. And we're just playing a scale. However, you start adding in those 4 techniques. Okay, again, hopefully you have them tattooed on your forehead by now. Hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends, which includes vibrato, and slides. Okay, so we got like a slide into a vibrato. Okay, hammer-on into a slide. Pull-off. Bend. Bend with vibrato. Okay, so kind of a stackage. We're stacking up bends there. So anyways, that's a great little pattern, and so you definitely want to get these scales memorized crossways, and then see this diagonal shape and how they all link together. Okay, so that's the very first part of today's lesson, is really just a big warm-up and just showing you how you want to get these just dialed in. And then of course we're talking all in the key of A, which is a really famous guitar player key. You know, like the song Rock and Roll comes to mind, or Custard Pie, a couple Led Zeppelin tunes. And you'll find all those notes very complementary towards a lot of those riffs that are written in A. Okay. Okay. So as you guys know, the title of today's lesson is Hot Zones. So in the next section of the PDF, this is where things really start picking up and getting interesting. So of course you want to get these memorized, but here's the thing is that there's a couple of sections of these scales that you'll find to be kind of naturally more inspiring than the others, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the first position, minor pentatonic. So you'll see that on page, where are we? Page what? Page 3? Yeah, just right at the bottom of page 3. So you'll see hot zones underlined there. So we got the root, first position. So we've already talked about that. Hopefully you get that under your fingers. And now what you'll see is I've got this one section of the scale circled, okay? And this is the hot zone, okay? And this one is a little bit different because most of these notes in this particular position are inspiring, and they're all kind of a hot zone to play. Even actually, like I know that I left out the bottom note. It's just that a lot of people, when they first start improvising or soloing with this particular shape, they start doing just like kind of boring licks, like going like this or something like that, and they're using that, and it just doesn't really sound very inspiring to play this note with your pinky finger, especially as a beginner or even intermediates. So that's why I'm leaving that one out, okay? But again, if you combine hammer-on, pull-offs, bends, and slides inside of these notes, okay, you'll find some really inspiring stuff, especially bends that are happening with your third and fourth finger notes. You're not going to find too much going on in terms of bends. Like you don't, you don't want to bend like the A string and try to and bend up. You know, okay, there's rules can be broken, okay? You know, these are just guidelines. If you find something that's awesome in a hot lick, bending one of these strings, then by all means go for it. But again, just combine those 4 techniques inside of this scale, and you'll be ripping up the fretboard in no time. So, but let's just move on to the second position because it's not too much to talk about in that first position, okay? The second position hot zone. This is where really things start getting interesting. As you know, the second position looks like this. Whoa. Okay, so we've got this second position hot zone, or minor pentatonic, so just get that under your fingers. And here's the thing. I don't know about you, man, but when I try to go, like when I try to play something inspiring inside of the A string and D string, it just doesn't feel that natural. There's something like just uninspiring about it, okay? And there's hardly any famous licks that use those particular strings in that sequence. However, as you can see on the second position hot zone, it's all about the top 3 strings. Again, if there's one thing that you guys leave with on this lesson, it's this hot zone right here, okay? So, and also I want to show you how to connect these two together. We've actually already kind of talked about it, but we'll just take a different stab at it. So the hot zone here is really 7, 9, 8, 10, 8, 10. Just those 6 notes, are those 6 fretted notes. So we've got 7, 9, 8, 10, 8, 10. So just get that under your fingers. Just find those notes. Okay? This is where all those licks come from, like, so let's talk about some of those, like, especially these 4 notes, okay? On the B string and the E string. Okay? Just try this. Try bending that note with your third finger. And of course, to do bends, you're going to want to have these other 2 fingers on that string. Just that one lick. It's just so bluesy. It's just awesome. And then of course I'm ending on the B string 10th fret, and that's our root note. Even those 3 notes, right? 1, 2, 3. And then I'm bending into a 4th note, I guess. Okay? So you should be able to put on a blues backing track in the key of A and play an awesome solo with just those 4 notes. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay, and then it really just comes down to your creative ability, and of course you can grow that and exercise that, and just in case you're not super stoked with your abilities right now, because it comes down to phrasing. You know, do we play it? Okay, it's all about your approach to the notes, right? There's a pre-bend, by the way. That's one of the techniques, right? Is a bend, but you can do a pre-bend. Bend the string first and then play it. Okay? Okay, so hopefully you can see already that inside the 2nd position minor pentatonic, that's where you want to be spending your time. Okay? Don't worry about this stuff back here and trying to find the bends, licks, and hammer-ons, and and pull-offs and slides. This little section isn't that inspiring to play. However, when you get up into this territory, that's the hot zone. That's where you want to be spending your time on the 2nd position minor pentatonic. Now, as mentioned, we can connect the 1st position and the 2nd position together. And quite honestly, if you want to play the blues and rock, if you were just to get the 1st position and the 2nd position happening like I'm about to show you, that's honestly what so many guitar players have even created entire careers off of, okay? Like guitar players like Freddie King come to mind. They weren't really doing a ton outside of these 2 pentatonic shapes. So, check it out. As you know, we've got our 1st position minor pentatonic scale starting from the 5th fret. Okay, once you get up to the 7th fret on the G, just stop. Okay, and then what we're going to do is connect into that 2nd position minor pentatonic scale hot zone that we were just discussing. Okay, so if you move that up 2 frets, so there's really we're already into the hot zone in position 2, and there's those 4 notes up top. So again, 1st position into 2nd position. So just see if you can find that for yourself. And by the way, this is just what we were just discussing with the diagonal sequence. That diagonal sequence will take you right into, first we're on the 5th position, into the 1st position, into the 2nd position, and a little bit into the 3rd position there, too. But yeah, it's just kind of a different way to look at it, and that's one of the biggest things that I've ever come across with learning guitar. Is for my own benefit has always been, when you look at the blues, if you attack it from the left, and if you attack it from the right, and from the bottom and up top, if you just like kind of attack this one topic from different angles, sometimes it doesn't really make sense until you try the 3rd or the 4th angle. And then it's like, oh, okay, I see how all 4 angles, even though they're coming at the topic from different directions, they all kind of make sense. And so that's what I mean. So we got the diagonal sequence. We've talked a lot about that. But now here's just a different approach to the same thing. So we've got 1st position, sliding into that 2nd position hot zone. Okay, and now check this out. Here is one of my most favorite licks, where that slide that we just talked about, and then if you hit that 8th fret of the B string, okay, check it out, those two notes together. Try those together. It's also, like this is going to be in a different key, so it might not sound the exact same, but it's like, I think it's Green River by CCR. Anyways, I'm sure you guys can kind of hear that. It's just like a classic rock and blues lick that's been used forever and ever, and definitely you want to get under your fingers. And that's that connection between the first and the second position minor pentatonic, okay? And like I said, I mean, you know, a guitar player like Freddie King has based his entire career off really like those two sections of the minor pentatonic scale. And if you want to double your knowledge instantly, which I'm sure you do, check this out. All you do is you just move that up an entire octave, okay? Those exact same two shapes, just up here. Sorry. So not every guitar is going to have that, that additional fret, but that's just a general rule of thumb that you can use, is just grab these two minor pentatonic positions, especially connecting them like I just showed you, and then if you want to double your skills and double your knowledge, and double your abilities, then just play the exact same licks, the exact same scales, either an octave above or an octave below. So I'll just show you a quick example. So I can be up here ripping a solo. Okay, of course, because it's an octave higher, it's going to have an entirely different sound, okay? And so it like doubles your skills, okay? But you're just playing the exact same thing, okay? So that's kind of the power, guys, and of just the first in position hot zone. But I got more for you. So check it out. We're going to move on to the third position hot zone, okay? This is another pentatonic scale that when you learn in the traditional sense, like we talked about at the first part of this lesson, it kind of is annoying when you try to solo or do something improvisational with this particular sequence of notes, especially with this fingering, 2-4, 2-4, 2-4. Ugh, like where are you going to find your licks in there? That just feels so unnatural. And then this big shift, it's really difficult. So what we do, and what I'm going to suggest that you do in this with this technique, is split up the third position into two scales. So as you can see on the top, or sorry, at the bottom of page 4 of the PDF, we've got third position hot zone version 1. So we're just going to grab those first few notes, okay? So and then play them with your first and third finger. I know the scale still says to play 2-4, 2-4. But try it with your first and third. Okay, so we just get 10, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12. That's it. That's the hot zone. Okay? And then, again, you start applying those hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends, and slides. And I always got to mention that bends include vibrato, which are so important. Okay? But check it out. Okay, and of course we're in the key of A, but if we moved this into the key of E, this is where so many big famous riffs happen. Okay, and we talked about Born Under a Bad Sign earlier. Okay, so that's Hot Zone version 1, you're going to find all kinds of tasty, inspirational licks by just focusing on those first 3 strings of that scale using your first and third finger, okay? And of course, combining that with those 4 essential rock guitar techniques. And I'm going to test you guys. What are the 4 essential rock guitar techniques that I mentioned like a ton? Go ahead and type those into the comments. Okay, and while those comments are coming in. Third position hot zone. Okay, we're going to look at version 2. Okay, so basically we're just splitting this in half. So we're going to talk about the top few notes. Okay, and we're going to add in a note. And maybe you guys caught Mike's lesson on the B.B. King lesson that he did a couple weeks ago. And if you haven't, the replay is available right inside the members area. And he talks a lot about the BB box, okay? And this is where the BB box really happens, okay? So we're going to grab really these few notes. And there's your root note, right? We discussed that a little earlier in the lesson. The 10th fret of the B string is an A note, and of course we're in A. So that's where a lot of these licks in the third position, hot zone, are going to land, start from, end on, etc. And so what you'll see there is there's a green circle on the 12th fret, okay? So that's out of your minor pentatonic scale, but it's in your major pentatonic scale. But you can bend up to that minor pentatonic note. Okay, you'll find all kinds of hot licks in here, man. Okay, so, an example, as mentioned, B.B. King, the B.B. box, okay, this is that hot zone, the top part of your third position minor pentatonic. You'll find all kinds of super inspiring licks, and again, there's an example of somebody who based their entire guitar playing career really out of just a few notes in this one specific area of the guitar. Of course, I don't mean to devalue B.B. King and his career and his guitar playing, because that's just obviously not the case. But hopefully you know what I mean when there's just so many inspiring licks right in this one little zone. So there's a third position hot zone. Split that scale, the third position minor pentatonic, into 2 shapes. So we've got the first one. Okay, hot zone right there. And then you've got the top part. Okay, hot zones. That's where the magic happens in these particular scales, all right? Okay, let's move on. Ted says that one of the techniques is long hair. You know what? I'm getting my hair cut in 2 days. It's going, man. I don't even need long hair to rock out. But the 4 techniques, guys, again, hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends, which includes vibrato, and slides. Hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends, slides. Hammer-on, pull-offs, bends, slides. Again, tattoo that on your forehead, man. Those are all the essential techniques that you need to master. Okay, so spend time on each individual technique, and you combine them with this roadmap of the pentatonic scales, and you'll be improvising solos and ripping it up before you even know it. Okay, so let's talk about the 4th position. Not the hair. The hair's got to go, man. I've had this haircut for about 12 years, okay? It's just time to go, man. I got to do something different. Do something different with my life, with my hair. So anyways, January 3rd, man, my hair appointment's booked. I don't know what it's going to look like. I hope it's not a disaster, but I'm going to vastly change my hairstyle. All right. So, guys, as mentioned, the fourth position is one of my favorite places to play solos. And similarly to the first position, just start this scale on the A string. Okay, bypass the low E string. Because check it out. What's 12th fret of the A? It's an A note. What key are we in? We're in A. Oh my goodness, it just totally makes sense to start that scale on the root note. So, you know, and speaking about doubling your knowledge, right? If you were to just start your minor pentatonic scale in that root position, which we all know and love, and then if you just played the minor pentatonic scale starting from here, 1 4 1 3 1 3 2 4, or 13 and 15 there, and then 12 15. Okay, that's where all these awesome hot licks happening. Like, check this out. Let's just find that lick. So 15th fret of the B string, bend that up a whole step. Your pinky finger is just chilling, right? It's just dangling out here. Hit that 15th fret of the high E string. You can hit them at the same time. Or you can bend the first string and then hit it. Okay. And then finish off the lick. Okay, and it sounds finished because we're landing on an A note, right? So we're going 13th fret of the B string, finishing off on the 14th fret of the G string. Ted says he's going country. Or maybe I'm going country, because this sure sounds country, doesn't it? But yeah, it does have definitely a country vibe going on there, for sure. Okay. So guys, the fourth position, man, it's hot. It's a hot zone all in itself. There's another really good lick, is the highest note of that scale, the G note, the 15th fret of the high E. Bend that up a whole step and you're back to your root note. Okay, that's a hot lick right there. Okay, and in a minute we'll talk about connecting the third position into the fourth position, into the top part of the fifth. Anyways, I've got that scaled out for you below. Julian says, there are some sweet licks if you connect 3, 1, and 4. 3, 1, and 4. Do you mean, are you talking about the positions, Julian? Like the third position, like I just said? But then I don't know exactly what you mean about getting to the first position again, because then we would be into the fourth position there. So anyways, let me know what you mean. Okay, so that's the fourth position hot zone. Fifth position hot zone, believe it or not, is just really these first two notes. Okay, that will get you connected up into the other section. Okay, so there's some really smoking hot licks right here, and that's why we started that diagonal sequence on this, right? If we go back, we started at 3, 5, and then went 3, 5, 7. Right? So that's the fifth position hot zone right there. Okay? So yeah, don't waste your time if you want to use the fifth position and get some licks happening. of course, these are guidelines, guys. Certainly, you can find licks and and find inspiration in all of these notes because they're all right notes. Okay, I'm just trying to show you like more so where some of the most famous licks and riffs are played more so than others. Okay, so because as mentioned, like if we play our our fifth position in full, you're not going to find a ton, especially with these fingerings, right? So, however, right here, there's just hotter licks, and more famous licks that happen in that one tiny little area, 2 strings instead of all 6 strings of that particular minor pentatonic shape. So you'll see those notes carved out for you in the 5th position hot zone, right at the bottom of page 6. Okay, so as mentioned, we've got, I want to show you these particular sequences linked together diagonally. Now we've already gone over the first one. And, oh, actually, these are the same scale. Right, so what I meant to do here is just talking to you about the first position and the second position linked together diagonally. Okay, and I guess I don't have the other one for you, but yeah, we talked about this one already a little bit, so we'll just continue that. So it would be, if we go back to our 3rd position, A minor pentatonic scale that starts on the 10th fret, okay, we can follow a very, very similar pattern here, which would look like, let me think about this. Oh yeah, so it actually starts on the 8th fret of the low E string, and instead of 2 strings, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, it's just the opposite. You're going to start from the 8th fret. You're going to do a very, very similar pattern, but this one is going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, 3 notes, and then 2 notes. So that'd be 8, 10, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12, 14, 12, 14, 15, 13, 15, 17, 15, 17. But don't even worry about the frets as much as that sequence. Again, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And that's going to take you from the 2nd position minor pentatonic into the 3rd position minor pentatonic, into the 4th position minor pentatonic, into the 5th position, and really back to that root note, which is inside of your 1st position. Okay, so diagonally moving through these scales, which is so inspiring and what so many famous players do all the time. And it'll also help you guideline. If you're riffing in here, where we talked about earlier, and you kind of tire that little area out and you want to find a new zone to play some licks, then you can follow that little pattern. So say if you rip some licks, then I'm just going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and all of a sudden that led me into another inspiring area to play some hot zone licks. And then I can use it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's just going to guide me along to into these hot zones. So yeah, so we've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Starting from the 3rd fret, so that's the 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then we've got the 8th fret, where we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And I haven't even mentioned this yet, but I'm only using let's get my fingers sorted out here, my 1st and my 3rd finger. Okay, those are the only fingers that I'm using for both of those sequences. Okay, and again, If you mix it with hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends, which includes vibrato, and slides, you'll be cooking, man. You'll be cooking, especially when you learn all of your pentatonic shapes, okay? Crossways, and you learn them diagonally, and you start visually seeing where this happens, okay? And making that connection, okay? And so we're learning them in the key of A. And the reason that we've focused so much on one key is because that will help solidify this connection that I'm talking about. Because if you spend some time, some quality time in one key, okay, that's something I would highly recommend. So what you guys can do, hop over on YouTube and check out, what's a great, check this out, Now You Shred. This is my favorite jam track site that you guys should definitely check out. The guy releases all the greatest kind of blues and classic rock jam tracks, and he's obviously a super talented musician and producer. And yeah, I just love his jam tracks. They're inspiring to play on, and he's got a whole bunch of stuff. So definitely check out Now You Shred. They always start out each video with Now You Shred, and then 1, 2, 3, kick it. And then they'll go into some sort of classic track like Hotel California or Bill Withers or Allman Brothers or whatever. There's so many. Jimi Hendrix, he's got some great jam tracks on there. So find the jam tracks in the key of A, okay? Take what you've learned in this lesson, maybe print out this PDF or at least have it handy, okay? And of course, you'll always be able to download it inside the members area in case you lose it or whatever. But grab this PDF. All of this stuff is in the key of A, okay? So you can follow the pentatonic scales. You can have a look at the hot zones, okay? Where to spend your time, learn them diagonally, see if you can kind of tie all this stuff in together, and then apply it to music, okay? In the key of A. Really just spend some time in the key of A, okay? Or you can spend some time in the key of E too. Hotel California is fun to play. Man, I find Hotel California quite difficult to play because you have to actually, and this is what Joe Walsh and Don Felder did with their solos, is they adjusted their soloing to each chord that was happening. So first chord is on B minor, you got to play B minor licks. Next chord is F sharp dominant 7. And you got to play licks like that. Next chord is A major. You got to play A major licks. Down to E. Okay, so anyways, KK, if you can rock Hotel California, man, all the power to you. I've actually been working on that one myself, and Now You Shred has a great backing track that I've been cycling and working on that and adjusting my licks as the solos come up. So anyways, guys, that's what I had planned for you here in today's lesson. I've got some like an Albert King challenge here at the very bottom of the page. I'm going to talk about that, and let's just open it up for discussion, guys, Q&A, any kind of guitar-related questions that you may have. We can talk about whatever, man. We can talk about guitar picks. We can talk about guitar. We can talk about how lucky I am that my Flying V hasn't fallen over, considering the position that it's in right now. Let's talk guitar. Let's answer your questions. If you guys want to talk about Mike B., we can either trash talk him behind his back because he's not here right now, or maybe he is. Oh shit, there's 7 people watching. I don't know. Anyways, we could talk about what Mike B is up to and your one-on-one lessons and all that kind of stuff. Oh, KK is Ethan. I got you. Cool. Yeah, so of course you can play the chords, and that's super fun, but I find that soloing over that track is certainly a challenge. For me, it's always remembering what chords are happening as I'm playing a solo. You know, it's for me, because my brain's really small. I just find it's a lot to take in. And it's incredible to me, guys that can just remember the chords and play a wicked solo. You know, that's like really jazz in a nutshell. You know, the chords and the scales and the keys are switching like every sometimes 2 beats. You know, and it's really fast. Anyways, it's just mental to me. So, but yeah, and you know what we talked about in today's lesson, all these minor pentatonics, is like a lot of guys will stick in one key, playing one scale, and from there it's all about those 4 techniques that I've said a million times, and passion. You know, just using your own creative force to play an inspiring solo that will impact not only you, but the people that hear you play. Okay? And so this is really the roadmap to finding a lot of those golden sounding notes that are super common in blues and rock. So, okay, Trash Mike. he's the sweetest guy, man. He's just so sweet. Okay, and guys, the Albert King Challenge is to find this the Born Under a Bad Sign riff, which I have for you in the key of E. Now this is in the key of E minor pentatonic. So the challenge is to figure out like 7 different ways to play that using your minor pentatonic scales. So for example, we could play where are we? See what I mean? I'm playing it in different places on the neck, but I'm playing the exact same sequence of notes. So that's a good challenge for you guys. Cool. Cheers, Ted. Ted says that was a good lesson. Love the start you were using. Cool. So yeah. So and just while we're on the topic of trashing Mike B, he's on winter vacation. I think he's still in Toronto. I'm actually just about to connect with him for a phone call here in a few minutes. But yeah, he'll be back rocking the one-on-one lessons here starting January 2nd, I believe. So I forget what day that is. But anyways, make sure to get in touch with me if you aren't hooked up for a lesson. Of course, you guys know we've got www.campfireguitarstar.com, /Mike60. That's where you guys can book lessons with him in case you aren't booked already. I'm going to try to make an effort to reach out to all of the one-to-one students to make sure that you guys are all booked in and all set up for that first week in January, because Mike's had a nice big break. So, you know, he's going to be just fired up and pumped up to get back in the saddle to teach you. So definitely want to hop in on that and get into your sessions. Anyways, we'll continue these live lessons, guys. I really appreciate you guys showing up today, and maybe you're watching the replay for those people in the future. But yeah, I'm really stoked on this new format of the live lessons. It's just another way to add value, especially to you one-to-one students. So not only can you get, you know, your one-to-one lesson with Mike, but Mike and I will be alternating week to week, more or less, and getting you a live lesson just like this where you can tune into, ask questions, chat amongst yourselves, and all that kind of stuff. Cool. Yeah, I love this Fender, Ted. It's one of my faves. Okay, guys, so if there's any other questions, do drop those into the comments right here, right now, because, of course, that's one of the biggest, most best parts about these lessons is that we can talk guitar and practice guitar together and learn something new together. And I'd love to answer any guitar questions that you guys may have. Cool. Ted says he'll have a question for the next time. Yeah, and just think about those, like, oh, I bet Will or Mike would know the answer to blah, 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 blah. You know, it could be guitar picks or guitar gear questions, or, you know, or any kind of chord or scale or song or whatever, you know. Just ask away. The worst that will happen is we say, no, sorry, I don't know the answer to that. But, you know, so here we go. Julian says, SG or Les Paul? Whew, I actually have both. So that would be my very first answer, is get both. SGs are generally cheaper. They're less expensive than Les Pauls, especially when you're talking about the standard line. So I think that that's worth mentioning. And they'll still, like an SG and Les Paul, they'll both get you into the similar wheelhouse, right? Of AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, rock guitar, you know. But that was the reason that I actually first bought an SG standard, was I wanted to get a Gibson. I wanted to get a Gibson, you know, American-made, standard, like, awesome guitar, but I didn't want to spend over $2,000 on a Les Paul, okay? And the SG had all the American awesomeness of what you're after in a Gibson, but it was so much less expensive, okay? I find that SGs are more comfortable to sit down with than a Les Paul. You know, you can certainly get used to sitting down with a Les Paul. I know I have. I've been playing a Les Paul ever since I was like 16. And, but yeah, so those are a couple of ideas. Again, I have both. I love both. Certainly Les Pauls, they absolutely, without doubt, will have more sustain. Okay, you'll be able to hold notes like this kind of idea. Like how long the note sustains for and lasts for. And it could just be my SG, or it could just be the pickups in it. But there's no question that my Les Paul will just sustain for a lot longer than my SG. But anyways, but also, yeah, I found my SG to be just kind of more alive, and it just kind of feels like more alive in my hands sometimes. So, and yeah, it's cheaper, it's lighter, it's more comfortable to play when you're sitting down. So anyways, hopefully that answers some of your questions. Yeah, because you got an Epi Les Paul, and you're happy with it, but I want to get an SG too. So I do agree with you. Yeah, that might be a good route. So, because yeah, Gibson Les Pauls, especially the standard line, can just be so expensive. Good for both SG and Les Paul is PVT60. Okay, yeah, I'm not familiar with that guitar, but yeah, maybe check that one out. But yeah, that might be a good choice for you, Julian, is keep your Epiphone Les Paul and get a Gibson SG, you know, and then you might get hooked though, you know, because typically Gibsons are better than Epiphones. Typically, you know, there are some exceptions. But yeah, you might get that Gibson SG and you'd be like, oh man, I love the binding on the fretboard, and I love how this thing feels. And then you'll go back to your Epiphone and just kind of wish that the Epiphone had some of the feel of the Gibson. And then you'll have to get a Gibson Les Paul as well. So it might be an expensive endeavor for you. I'm not sure. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and shut this lesson down. Hopefully you enjoyed this lesson and picked up some new tips. I do appreciate you guys joining me live, and yeah, I look forward to you know, and hop into the beginner guitar players on Facebook group, guys. That's the Facebook group that Mike B and I moderate. I'm just going to drop the link to that. Where the heck is that? It's right here. So here's the Facebook group. I know that some of you guys are on it already. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, Ethan. Keep on rocking, man. Oops, I'm glitching out here a little bit. Okay, so anyways, there's the Facebook group for you guys. Make sure you join that and post videos of yourself. You know, post a video of you shredding along with a YouTube backing track, applying some of these techniques. That would be really helpful for me to give you feedback on, and it challenges you to actually apply what you learned in today's lesson and show it off. You know, it's gonna kind of kick your ass into working hard and establishing these techniques and get them integrated into your mind, body, and soul. Okay. okay? So that's my challenge for you, is to post a video of yourself playing inside of the Facebook group. All right, cheers, guys. Keep on ripping it up. We will catch you in the next lesson. Rock on!